Page 8, AM and PM, as in morning and afternoon. For this piece is really very pretty. What they've done is they've taken two classical pieces, common classical pieces, and they've kind of combined the melodies a little bit and put them together and made this piece out of it. Starting with the right hand at the beginning, you're in this position. So, and they're all quarter notes, simple. Till you get to the last measure of the first line, watch the fingering, because you're here, a fifth finger on the G, then a 2, got to crunch up a little. That's so we can get the A. And then in the third measure, in the second line, third measure, you got to cross over third finger. And then you're back into this position. And that happens again on the last line in the third measure. Fifth finger on the D, and then crunch up a little. Now watch out, because between the last two measures of the last line on page 8, you're here and here. You have to move your hand down. The pedal will keep the sound going, so you're here 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So take as much time as you need to do that. Just make sure you're there in time to play it within the beat. The beat goes on, and that puts you in this position. To the last measure of the top first line on page 9, you're here, then crunch up again for the first measure of the second line, here, and that's tied, so you can hold that down for 5 counts. Now there's a fermata on the double bars. You know, with double bars, I hope, that means it's a section. We have sections in music, and they're split with the double bars. Doesn't affect how you play it. It just gives you an idea of the form of the piece. And the reason here is because we're going into a new melody is actually what it is. But they put a fermata on the double bar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause for a beat or two. We're just going to like silence for a beat or two, and then we're going to go on with this. Now, third line down on page 9 on the right hand, you're starting out with the D. And then for the third measure, you're here, and then bring the thumb in, and then an octave, and then reach down third finger on the E. So you're not in a 5-finger position, you're moving around a little bit, so watch their fingering carefully, you'll be fine with it. It's fun. I can offer other fingerings, I'm not going to bother, it's good. Let's look at the last line on page 9. You're here. Now you got to come all the way up to here. If your hand's big enough, you can reach it. The pedal's down, it's going to hold you. And the second measure, 8th notes. Watch the fingering, 4 on the F, and then reach down. And then a thumb again on the C. So it's, starting with the first measure, it's 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. And you want the thumb on that C because then the next measure you got to go to the high C and then here. That's the right hand. Left hand's just got these chords going, and just follow their fingering, it's fine. And they're tied, so most of them you're going to hold down for 6 counts. And the last 2 measures you got to come down to here. It's fine. In the 4th measure over, you're here. Got those? Then when page 9 at the top of the page, now you're down here. Next measure. Second line, 5-2 and 5-1. Then going on, you have these broken chords, and yes, these are broken chords. The last 2 measures of the second line there on page 9. Just follow their fingering, you're fine. You're going to move around a little bit because in the third line, in the third measure, you're down here. And then in the last measure, you're up here. Going on the 4th line, the 2nd measure. Then crunch up. Again. So work out that left hand so it's smooth and even. So, because you are moving around a little bit. Dynamic wise, this whole thing is a gentle piece. It never gets loud. So at the beginning it's pianissimo. And that's the right hand. That's very soft. So the left hand's got to be super soft. It's like a whisper. Then you get a little louder. It's still soft, just a little louder. And you go through that until you get up to the top of page 9. Now you're sort of loud. Not loud, just sort of loud. See, it's building up. This is the climax of the piece. This is where the sun comes up. And we had that for 5 counts, and then I'm going to total silence for a beat or 2. I don't know how long. I'll figure it out later. And then we continue on. Just real gentle. Meno mosso means less motion. Meno is less, motion is motion. Slow it down a little bit. Just a. So the last line. You're lingering on these. So again. And you're getting softer and softer and back like you were at the beginning, soft. Now there's a note at the first of this that you can use the soft pedal. Could be introduced here. I am very much opposed to it, but I'll discuss it just the same. Because some people do teach it. The soft pedal is the left pedal. If you only have one pedal, you don't have a soft pedal, don't worry about it. You can turn the volume down on the electronic keyboard. People misuse it. They say, what's a soft pedal? Well, it sort of is on some pianos. The problem is on a grand piano like this one, it actually changes the tone. So we use it more like an effects pedal. I can use that left pedal and play loud because what I'm doing is I'm not using it to play soft, I'm using it to change the tone. Because at the beginning of this, if I play just the first few measures without the pedal, it's this. Well, if I play it with the pedal, it's this. I can play at the same loudness, but the tone changes just a little bit. And it's that little bit of tone change that we're concerned about. You have to learn to listen that carefully if you really want to play the piano well. What they're doing is they're saying, well, the soft pedal will help it play softer, and it does. It adjusts it. But people use it as a crutch. Well, I'll use this to help me play softer. And I say no. Only in extreme circumstances would you use it to help you play softer. You have to develop the technique and the control in your fingers to play that soft without the crutch. So learn to do it. There's 2 ways to play soft on a piano. They're actually related. One way is to very lightly, if you're using weight control, it's very little weight. Your hands are very light. You feel very light. You're hardly pushing the keys down at all. Just make sure you get the key all the way down or it won't sound. You got to go all the way. I have problems with that. But the other way of playing softly on a piano is it's a physics thing. The slower the key goes down, the softer the tone will be. Because the hammer gets less oomph to hit the string if you're going slowly. So if I think slowly, push the key down slowly rather than quickly. Now this is a problem because when you're playing a piece, you don't have time to think about slowly pushing the key down. You got to keep going. and that's where the lightness comes in. But in a way, when you play lightly, you are pushing the key down slower. You just don't realize it is. But if you have like a chord or something at the end, like the end of this piece, that last chord, and you want that to be really super soft, push it down slowly. Now you can do that rather than coming straight down. Push down at an angle, because when you go down at an angle, the overall down is slower. Rather than this way, go this way, and your descent, so to speak, is slower. So it takes a little bit of practice to get, but you can actually get chords very, very softly that way. And I found with a chord it helps to let the wrist come up a little bit when you do that. You have to practice that. But try and do it without the left pedal, please. I don't recommend left pedal in this piece at all. For the regular pedal, it's legato pedal. Just like they're telling you to do. I don't agree with it totally. I'm not going to get into it because it's like over on page 9, second line, after the double bars, when the new melody, that first note's by itself, that's a pickup. Well, there are other phrases in here with a pickup, that same thing. Third line down, second measure, you're here. Well, that pickup, that could be a pickup too. So if I lift the right hand into phrase, the pedal covers it up. So if I would lift the pedal up with the right hand there, then I could hear a break in the phrase. Left hand doesn't come up. Left hand's legato throughout. But that's what I'm saying. There's places in here where it would be nice to have a break in the phrase in the right hand, but it complicates things slightly. So when we do the play with me, I'm just going to pedal it the way they're showing. I'm going to push the notes. This is at the beginning. I'm going to push the notes down and then the pedal. I'm going to leave it down. Now on this piece, the style of the piece, the way it is, it's okay for the notes to blur. That's sort of the effect we want. A lot of pieces we wouldn't do that. But here it's okay. Let them blur. It's okay. It's kind of foggy out there. Keep it. Then when I change the pedal, I play the notes first and then change the pedal. Now here's a break in the phrase. I could lift the pedal with the hands so I get a little bit of silence before going on. I really could if I wanted to. And that's basically the way the thing is pedaled. When you get over to page 9 on the second line, you're here. Lift the pedal and the hands at the same time at the end of 5 counts. And then we'll have a beat or two of silence. Now they're showing the pedal goes through the silence. I disagree. If you're going to do that, you don't put the fermata on the bar line. You put the fermata over the half notes. And that would tell you to hold on to the half notes longer. They're not saying hold on to the half notes longer. They're saying let go of the half notes but keep the pedal down through this thing. And that has the same effect of holding on to the half notes. So I disagree. I would lift the pedal up with the hands and then give it a beat or two of silence before going on. And this is legato pedal 2. So I would really prefer to, on the 4th line down on that first measure, I'd prefer to have that E by itself because there's nothing in the left hand. So I'm not breaking the phrase, I'm just lifting the pedal up to release the sound so I get a rest. That's what they want. And the blurriness here is fine because it's part of the mood of the piece. It's just blurry. Yeah. 3/4 time, I'll give us 3 counts. Let's give this a try. Right hand here, left hand here, foot's on the pedal. 1, ready, go. Two, three. Two, three. 1, 2, 3. Tie, 2 off, hold.